Hello everybody, and welcome to Homestead Where You Are. My name is Janet. If you've been here before, welcome back. And if this is your first time here, thank you for stopping by, and I hope you enjoy the content here. So today I'm going to walk around a little bit, show you a little bit about what's going on and what I have. I'm sorry about the geese. Seems like no matter what I do or where I film, if I start talking, they start talking. But anyway, as I'm walking around, I want to kind of talk about direction of the channel. I guess it would be more the format of videos or something like that. There's a lot of obstacles or excuses, if you want to call it that contribute to why I haven't been posting a whole lot lately. I really got to thinking about it, and it kind of dawned on me that maybe I am not the only one who's facing some of these same obstacles. So as we're walking around, we're going to talk about some of the obstacles and what I plan on trying to do in some cases. Anyway, I made some notes because inevitably I always forget something. So anyway, the first obstacle, which is probably the biggest one for me, is the fact that I do have a job. I work 5 days a week. I work evenings, and I only work like a 6-hour shift typically. Sometimes that changes, but for the most part. So I do have my mornings, that I could do stuff. But the problem is that kind of brings me to obstacle number 2. So obstacle number 1 is just the fact that I have a job, so I don't have the kind of time that I wish I had. Obstacle number 2 is the fact that I'm getting up there in age. No, I am not old, but I'm not a spring chicken either. But the other issue is that, I have arthritis pretty bad. Some days it's really bad. And if I spend too much time out, working on stuff for the garden or the trees or just whatever, then it kind of inhibits my ability to do my job because my body has had it by the time I go to work. So I still have to be careful of what I can do during the week. I'm typically off on Friday and Saturday, and I try to get typically as much done as I can on Friday because I usually need Saturday to recoup. Don't get me wrong, I will still do the normal feed and water the chickens, and if I need to water the garden and some weeding and things like that on Saturday, but I try not to do anything too strenuous or I'm down for the count for the rest of the week. So anyway, let's walk around a little bit before we go into the next obstacles. All right, I'm going to show you this. I kind of touched on it a little bit before, but not like a whole lot. It's funny, around our yard, I have my stuff, my husband has his stuff, and even when it comes to the gardening, he has a couple little areas like this one that he takes care of. And I spend hours upon hours, researching or planning or whatever, trying to figure out what I'm going to plant where, what's going to go with other things, what can't go with other things, all that kind of stuff. And my husband just willy-nilly throws things in wherever he wants. And this is one of those spots. It's like a jungle in this little, basically 4x8 space. He's got a grapevine that is like taking off everywhere. You'll see it goes all the way around on the other side over there. There is I believe that's an apricot. It's either apricot or nectarine, but I think it's apricot that's growing in the middle of all this crap. And then he just, as he decides, he'll throw in a tomato plant or a cucumber, or like even down on this end, most of this stuff is just about finished, but he had cucumbers and tomatoes down in here. And you can see, like, there's a tomato plant in the middle of this chaos inside there. This is, I don't know, just some other kind of tree that he has growing here. It's just crazy to me how well some of his stuff does with absolutely no planning at all. And look at those grapes, y'all. Grapes everywhere. And you'll see it comes around all the way to the other side over here with more grapes everywhere. It's crazy. Anyway, oh, looks like I need to fix this. Looks like it came out. Anyway, so this is really the only bed so far that I have kind of planted for fall. I do have some cabbages coming up. There's a few onions in there. There's a cilantro. A few carrots coming up right there. I don't know if you can tell. And then, of course, the zinnias and the marigolds are loving this space. But anyway, all right, so let's talk about obstacle number 3 for me. I don't have a whole lot of money. So I can't decide that I'm going to start some project or build something or do whatever. Go buy the materials that I need to complete that project and then get my camera out and film me doing that project. Most of the time I have to acquire the things needed a little at a time, and so that means I'm usually putting the pieces of the project together a little at a time, one piece at a time, however. And so it makes it hard to, you know, do a video of, hey, I just put this in, and, you know, because I did it piece by piece. So you're going to see as I move on with this, there are a few projects that I have started, and I'll tell you how I'm going to try and alleviate that problem here shortly. And I don't know if you can see this very well. This was one of my first beds from this year. Flip this around a little bit. I acquired these 2 new beds this year. See, this is another one of those things that's just like, I would love to be able to just go out and purchase, you know, however many I need, Vigo garden beds, or, you know, one of the nice ones, expensive ones that I can't afford to buy. So for now, I just did like Amazon. I think I paid $40 a piece for these. It was something to get going for now, but anyway, that's where I am. So anyway, I planted this. This was new this year, and I have some zucchinis down this one side. I have some tomatoes down in the middle, and then you can see that I have some peppers all along this side. Basically, there are jalapenos and some like hot kind of peppers down on that end. And then I had some bell peppers on this end. I picked a few yesterday, so there's not a whole lot left. But there are a few. Let's see if we can get a shot of this. So there's some new ones coming on there. And as you can see, there are jalapenos here. Anyway, where a lot of my other peppers and stuff, actually my peppers, this is the first year that I've done good with peppers. I've always had a problem growing peppers, especially the bell peppers, but this year's been great. But I think because this gets quite a bit of shade, this stuff in here has just done very, very well. I mean, we're supposed to be 107 degrees today, and this stuff's doing very well. So, and speaking of 107 degrees, my next obstacle is my weather. So, I live in Central California. We don't get a whole lot of rain here. And that can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. I don't usually have to worry about the rain or anything like that stopping me from being able to film. But for one, it is so hot during the summer, spring, summer, and into fall. And without any rain, it just means that I have to spend a whole lot more time with watering or protecting some of the garden stuff from the extreme heat. I spend a lot more time doing that stuff than I would like to spend. So there are some things I'm doing to try and alleviate some of that. The more complicated part of it is I can't really do any canning or, most of my preserving stuff inside the house. A couple of reasons. Number one, I have a glass top stove. It's a cheap glass top stove. Number two, I don't have a lot of space. So working in the kitchen, if I'm trying to do canning and stuff, then I'm just in the way of anything else that's going on. So my husband built me he took a part of the patio and closed it. He built me an outdoor kitchen, which is great, but it is not temperature controlled in any way. So most of the time, it's either too hot or too cold, but mostly too hot, for me to really do anything in that outdoor kitchen. So on trying to get stuff, not just trying to film it, but let's be honest here. I'm trying to get this channel built up, and I'm trying to get the videos out to you guys and all that. And so filming becomes an issue with this heat. But it also just becomes an issue even if I wasn't going to film, for me to actually be able to preserve some of the stuff that I'm getting. So, I have a lot of fruits and stuff that I get on the fruit trees that, because of the time of the year that they're coming ripe, I end up doing a lot of juicing just because it's something I can put in the steam juicer and kind of walk away for a while. So, the weather is not as big of an issue. But anyway, that's just, something I'm trying to work around and try and figure out as I go. And the other thing too is, even if I wanted to, not just necessarily canning, but if I was preparing some of my stuff, I can't really do that in the inside home kitchen and film it, because there is no real separation between my kitchen and my living room. And you can always hear the TV in the background, which means I end up having to do a voiceover. And let's be honest, I really don't like all my voiceover videos, but sometimes I just don't have a choice between TV, if I'm in the house, and the geese, if I'm outside. Doesn't help that the geese are right up against my garden space, but anyway, it makes it hard for filming. Like I said, I really don't like doing the voiceover, because sometimes I just don't have a choice. So anyway, it's something I'm trying to work around. I will get it figured out eventually. I'm standing here in front of another one of those spaces that my husband kind of throw stuff in. At this point, though, I think he's said that he's been pulling some stuff out of it. He's trying to get it cleaned out. I think he's going to do something different here. But anyway, there are Concord grapes over the top. There's only a few left on there because I picked a bunch of them and put them in the freezer because I will, as it starts to cool off, I will make some grape jelly because that is my husband's favorite. And then I don't know if you can see, you can kind of see it in the corner over there, but that is a fig tree. And that is something that my husband, actually, he says the birds planted it. You know how birds are with dropping seeds anywhere they can. So that's been here since way before I got here 12, 13 years ago. The problem is, I don't really know anything about figs. They've not always been one of my favorites. I think it might just be because I haven't had them in ways that I like. But anyway, I need to start figuring out what I'm going to do with these figs. Because I never do anything with them every year. No. And you can see there are some grapevines. Those are, even though those are kind of pink and those over there are kind of dark purple, these are both, it's all one grapevine. So the ones that are getting a little bit shaded over there seem to be doing better, getting riper faster. But, you know, so some of them are ready, some of them not quite. This is our little dwarf orange tree. Not time for those. I mean, there's some on there right now, but those typically don't get ripe until like springtime. This is another one of those areas that my husband, well, I say takes care of, but it looks like he hasn't done much with it this year. But anyway, that's his space, so I don't mess with it too much. And see, here's another thing that kind of contributes to talking about the time, because I work and the weather and all that kind of stuff. As I said, I'm off on Fridays and Saturdays. So today is Friday. This morning, we had to get on the computer and pay some bills. I had to run to the feed store and get some feed for the chickens. And then we had to run by the store real fast just to pick up a couple things. Anyway, so by the time we got home, it's like 10 o'clock. And then we eat our regular meals, our main meal, I guess what most people eat at dinner time. We eat that at lunchtime. A couple of reasons. Some of my husband's health issues, it's better for him to eat his biggest meal in the middle of the day instead of later. The other thing is because of my job, I go to work at 3 o'clock. I leave the house at 3 o'clock. So I like to have our big meal during lunchtime. That way we have a big meal of the day. Otherwise, I don't know what my husband would eat. Probably like spaghetti with meatballs, raviolis or something like that. Make a sandwich, you know. So anyway, my point is, by the time we do a couple things in the morning, and then here it is, like I said, it's 10 o'clock. If I was going to make a regular meal, I would have maybe an hour, and then I'd need to get started on making our meal. And then by the time we eat, and then I come out and I feed the chickens, water the garden, whatever little stuff needs to be done, it is almost time for me to start getting ready for work. I try and sit down and relax for an hour, hour and a half, something like that before I go to work. But, that doesn't leave time for anything. But then like on a day like today, I don't have to worry about going to work. But, as I said, it's supposed to be 107 degrees today. So, if whatever I don't get done by the time we decide to have our lunch, it's going to be hard to get anything done after that because it's just going to be too dang hot for the stuff I need to do. So that also becomes an issue. Even though I have the days off and have some of the time to do some of this stuff, the weather doesn't cooperate, and you know, here I am. All right, so the next obstacle for me is most of the time when it comes to stuff with the garden, anything with the chickens, anything with preserving, any of that kind of stuff, I do all of that by myself. Not because my husband won't help me, because he will. If I need him to do something, or I need to construct something or whatever, he's there to help if needed. But he also has health issues of his own, so there are some limitations there. But secondly, he has essentially a full-time job just trying to keep up with the yard maintenance. You know, he pretty much keeps up with maintenance on the fruit trees, the pruning, and, you know, fertilizing, any of that kind of stuff. He also takes care of the ducks and geese. He takes care of the sulcata tortoises, and he takes care of the aquatic turtles. So between those things, he stays just as busy, if not busier, than I do, and he still has the same obstacles with weather and things like that too. So, and yes, I'm in the garden, and the geese are here talking. This is why I don't do a lot out here. And if I'm being honest, because I work and he does not, he also, I cook, but he typically does the dishes. I do my own laundry, but he does everything else, towels and sheets and all that kind of stuff. He vacuums, he sweeps, he does all of those things usually while I work, because he does not. So, I mean, that is one area where I guess I am lucky compared to a lot of other people. You guys are not going to make this easy. Okay, so all of that leads me to say this. I know I can't be the only one with all or some of these same issues. So I think what I have decided to do is I'm going to film myself each day doing whatever tasks I do for that day, and put it together in one weekly video. And then as I finish a project, for instance, you haven't really seen a whole lot of it yet, but okay, I am at the stage now where I am trying to get everything at a easier to manage, things more permanent. You know, I got to save time, and I have to save my body in a lot of ways. So I've been in the process of trying to put down the weed fabric, the good stuff, of course, but that's not an easy task because my beds are already existing. So anyway, there's some, I'll show you when I do the next section how I'm doing it. Also, setting up drip irrigation. That's another one of those issues where I can't, I mean, I wish I could just go on to Drip Depot and order the kit that I want and put the stuff in and be done with it. But I do not have that kind of money, and I have had to order the stuff. You know, each payday I get one or two pieces, you know, so like I get some of the mainline hose. This week actually I got my timer and my head assembly with the pressure regulator and filter and backflow preventer, all that stuff in one. So anyway, it's just like one piece at a time. So anyway, when I finish a project, like when I'm done with the drip irrigation, I'll take the pieces of those videos and put them together into a one, this is how I did it video. I don't want to call it a how-to because honestly, I don't really know what I'm doing, and I know I'm not doing stuff the way anybody else would, because I'm piecing together stuff that, for the most part, I'm using the cheaper version, and that makes it actually more difficult in a lot of cases. But anyway, that's my plan. That's how I plan on trying to approach this, so that I can get a video out every week and still show you the stuff that I'm doing. And, as it cools off a little bit, you'll see me doing some more preserving and some different things like that. And, of course, those videos will be, all one video. So I will get those out, too. But anyway, I just kind of want everybody to see what it takes for me with a full-time job, with the weather that I have, with the body conditions that I have, all of that kind of stuff. How I manage to make it work. And honestly, I'm trying to get to the point where I don't have to work anymore. My husband and I are trying to work through some things, but we're looking at least a year or two before that's going to happen. So I'm doing what I can to make it work until then. And I'm having a really hard time with this sun out here. I only got one little spot that's shaded. All right, so as I get into starting tomorrow, basically, my daily routines, what I have going on, I'll kind of show you some of the stuff that I already have in progress, and then let you continue on with me. But that's the plan. So let me know in the comments what you think about that. If you have any suggestions, that would help. Much appreciated. I still have let me show you, flip this around a little bit. That side over there, I still need garden beds to go along that side over there. But again, I ordered 2 this year, and I imagine it'll be cheap ones again to get by. I'm hoping I'll get to a point at some point where, one at a time, maybe I can replace them with the good ones. But I just, I don't have the money for that right now. So anyway, let me know what you think. I hope this works for everybody. And at least I get a video out every week, at least one. Sometimes there'll be more if I do any preserving and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I do appreciate anybody who stuck around long enough to see the whole thing. And I appreciate each and every one of you more than you know. And I do hope I see you on the next one.